Yeah, good morning, YouTube land. Got some antler here. This is what I have left over for making guitar nuts and saddles with. And we're going to cut these up and go ahead and make them all into blanks. And don't know if I'll use them or not, but we're going to cut them up, and I will use them eventually. Thinking about making one for the acoustic guitar, and I made make a couple for the saddles for acoustic guitars. They're always handy to have around. And these are what I'll be using for a template to go by. Show them to you as soon as I can get them picked up. I was just talking to a friend of mine on the phone yesterday about our hands. He's the same age as I am, and he's going through the same thing I'm going through. Numbness in the hands and all that stuff. Anyway, these are what I'll be using for templates, and we'll mark them off on the antlers, and I'll take them over to the bandsaw, and we'll cut them up. I'll bring you right back in. All right, so here's what we're going to do is take this first one here and kind of roughly on a good spot. We're going to cut it off probably right in here and right up in here. And if we have enough up here, we won't have enough, but try to find the best parts to use. So it gives you the least work. All right, there's a basic roughed in nut there. What I'll do eventually, I'll go ahead and trim this one down, and we'll do is take it back over to the belt sander and square these all up when I'm done cutting them up. So anyway, you've seen the basic idea, and I'm going to continue cutting these up off camera. You don't need to watch me cut them all up, and we'll bring you back in a little bit. Bye. Well, all right. There they are, roughed in. These will all become nuts. I was only be able to yield a couple ones for the saddles. I don't know if this is going to work or not. It may be a little bit thin by the time I get done, but we'll see. There are acoustics out there that's got really thin ones too. This is the leftovers. And this is the one I roughed in a while ago. What I'll do now is square this one up, and I'll come back in at a later date and finish these off. But right now I'm going to concentrate on getting these to look more like nut blanks, and so I can quite possibly maybe use one on my acoustic guitar there. Alrighty, I'll talk at you later. All right, there we go. Got one antler nut cut down, shaped. All I have to do is cut the grooves in it. I'll have to mark those out. And we'll be cutting the grooves in it. It's pretty doggone good, if I say so myself. I was really not wanting to make one, but all the other ones I have are just cheap plastic ones, and I just couldn't do it. So we'll be cutting the grooves in it, and then I do have, like I said, I do have this one. I think it's Tuscan. I don't know what it's made out of. Some kind of man-made crap for the bridge there. That's one, I think that's what I'm going to use. It fits nice and tight, like it should. Doesn't wobble or nothing. May have to shorten it some to get the action right, but we won't know that until I get strings back on it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and cut them grooves and get that glued into place, and then start stringing her up. Alrighty, I'll talk to you later. I know I've shown this before, but I'm going to show it again. How I find the depth for my strings to begin with is I take a pencil that I've cut in half, like that. You place that on your frets, and then you draw a line across the nut there. And that'll give you a starting point. How far down to bring those strings and your slots. And also on cutting slots in the nut, you do not want to cut your slots straight. You want to cut them at an angle. Because what you're trying to do is you want your strings to play off the front of your nut. And a lot of guys out there that are having problems with intonation, I'd say 90% of the time, this is where the problem's at. The string is playing off the middle or the back of the nut, not on the front. So that does, like if it's in the middle, that's going to throw your intonation off. If it's playing on the back side of your nut, it's going to throw your intonation off. You got to get it, the string playing off the front of the nut. And I fixed a lot of guitars in my past just by reshaping the slots in the nut, and mainly is because they're all cut straight across, not at an angle. I even do it on Fenders and Tellys the same way, and to give more of the bend to bend at the front of that nut, and I'll guarantee that fixed most of your intonation problems right there. But anyway, that's what's up next. I'm going to mark it for the slots, and then I'm going to cut the slots in, and then glue this on, and then quite possibly string her up. I'm going to, oh yeah, I need to polish the frets out again. It's hard to believe how tarnished they've gotten. And I think it's a sign of cheap frets. I really do, because there ain't no way, for the amount of playing I've played this guitar, that it should already be getting divots in the frets, for one. You can see them. You can see them coming across there all the way up to where I usually play up on the neck here. And but anyway, someday I'll probably have to put new frets in this thing. But until then, I'm going to use them until I can't use them anymore. And alrighty, we're making progress on this guitar. I'm going to try to get on the also get on the pine guitar today. I got to finish doing the setup on it, and once I get that done, I'll do the sound check. Well, all right, I got off my lazy hind end and decided to finish this guitar up today, or try to. I just finished cleaning the fretboard and the frets off on this. I can't believe how tarnished the frets were on this thing. I don't think I ever cleaned them since it was since I got it from the music store online. I'm no longer gonna say who I got it from. I have other videos that say where I got this from. They know who they are. So I'm just not going to promote by saying their name anymore, even if it's in negative content. So the music store I got them from. So anyway, I went ahead and glued the nut on. So the next step will be filing or cutting the slots for the strings. But before I do that, I'm going to oil this fretboard a little bit and But I'm probably not going to show you my technique on how I cut those slots because I don't use conventional tools. I refuse to pay $100 and something for fret files, so I don't use fret files, and I don't use gauges to gauge my gaps with. It's all by sight and feel, and I think sometimes some of that stuff is just an overrated gimmick. Why do I say that? Because once you adjust, take that time and adjust all the adjustments with your gauges and getting it so and get it right on the money. Gotta get right perfect, and yeah, your client comes and picks their guitar up, takes it home, sets it in a hot car, or probably puts it in the hot trunk of a car, and takes it home, sits underneath the heater vent or an air conditioning vent, and you don't know what happens to that guitar after it leaves your shop. By the time they take that guitar out and play it, either at their home or in their gig or whatever they're doing that day, those little fine adjustments you just made to that guitar no longer exist. I'll guarantee it. And they can bring that guitar back to you the same day they took it home, bring it back, and you take your measurements, and it'll all be somewhere else. And been there, done that, people. I have repaired, restored, built guitars, and I'm not just talking a handful. I've done this for a lot of years. I've probably worked on thousands of guitars, and so there's nothing new under the sun when it comes to what wood and metal does, and that's all a guitar is wood, metal, and some glue. And if you don't think it won't move, then you need to wake up. I had somebody the other day talking to me. We got talking about Taylor's and Martin guitars. And now, I'm not trying to get on to them or nothing, but I will say I will not own one for the simple fact I worked on them too many times. To me, they're nice play sounding guitars. They really are. They sound really good. But when you buy their acoustics, if you're not prepared to baby them and take care of them, then they are not the guitar for you, because they take a lot of care. And if you spend a few $1,000 on getting one, you had better be ready to take care of it. You can't just stick it in the case and play it and then stick it back in the case, take it somewhere else and take it out and play it and just abuse them. You can't do it. Just can't do it. I have repaired so many of them with cracked tops, bowed tops, with the bellies bow up on them, and because people don't take care of their acoustic guitars. Now, one of the things I teach my students with acoustic guitars, if you have an acoustic guitar that you're going to store at any length of time, you need to loosen the strings before you put it away for months on end. And as you've seen in my one quick video there, these 3 guitars I brought home, they're prime examples of people not taking care of their guitars. And if you leave an acoustic guitar with constant tension on it, then what happens is it starts to pull up here on the neck area, yeah, right up in here, and it actually will pull that and it'll cave this part of the guitar in. And why they haven't changed the design of an acoustic guitar is beyond me. Because it's a common problem. It's nothing. Want to see how much dirt was on that fretboard? Check that out. First time I've cleaned it since I've owned it. And so anyway, I have an idea how if I was to make an acoustic guitar, I have an idea to keep that from happening. And I always think, well, there's got to be somebody out there who's already solved that problem, but there ain't. Nope, everybody makes an acoustic guitar same old way. They rarely ever change the design of an acoustic guitar. And I think it's time for a change in the acoustic guitar business. And there's no reason to be making guitars. I get it. I know why they do it, because of simplicity and productivity, you know, when they produce these things. I put that tape on there to keep, I used steel wool on those frets. And sometimes adding a little piece of wood or doing a little extra to some things brings the cost up. But for as much as some guitars cost, I don't see why they can't build in a factor where the neck won't bow. Now, a lot of them now have gone over to acoustic guitars, have gone over to bolt-on necks, which I think is a great idea for an acoustic. And what a bolt-on neck does for you, you can, if it does start to bow a little bit, you can unbolt the neck and readjust it without spending $450 to have a neck reset done to a guitar. And in most places, that's what it's going to cost you. It'll be around $450, $500, depending on who you go to get a neck reset these days. And there's a lot of work involved, and a lot of people don't realize how much work is involved in doing neck reset. It's time consuming. There's chances of ruining a finish on an acoustic around the neck area. Just all kinds of factors can happen when popping a neck out, and because it involves heat and steam and all kinds of stuff to get that neck off of there on most acoustic guitars. Like I said, a lot of them now are going over to bolt-on, where they have bolts either running in this way or one running in this way or from the bottom. And Epiphone has the bolt-on necks on their acoustics that come in from the bottom, just like kind of like an electric guitar. And makes it simple, easy to readjust that neck. You don't spend near the money on getting them reset. And so anyway, enough of that. I'm going to take you off camera. I'm going to go ahead and get these filed out here for the string slots for the nut up there, way up there, way up there, way up there. And then we'll go from there. I've gotten these little fine scratches in my guitar. I guess it's from me rubbing on it. You know, at church I sweat a lot. I don't know what's wrong with me lately. And I use a rag like this, and I wipe the sweat off the guitar as I'm playing during the sets and stuff. So that's probably where it's coming from. Which is all right. It just shows I'm playing it, breaking it in. Alrighty, like I said, I don't use conventional files or anything to cut these slots. I just use some needle files, and I use a saw blade and stuff like that. All you gotta do is cut the slot. And if you can afford the files to do that, then more power to you. I think I showed you all earlier on one of the videos, you use a cut pencil like that, and you mark your marking here on your nut. And that'll show you how far down to bring your file marks. And I just cleaned that fretboard, so yeah, that's a little bit better. I don't think my pencil's all that flat. Anyway, just give you a guideline of how far down to bring those slots so you don't overcut them. And if you have a feeler gauge, you can put a feeler gauge underneath there. There's something else I used to use. I don't remember what it was now. I don't remember what I used. Anyway, just anything to help mark the thickness of that fret so you don't go down too far. Plus, it helps you guide you to where you need to be. So that's what I'm going to work on right now. I'm going to put the strings in it, and I'll put one string on at a time, and then I'll cut the slot and keep working on it until I get the action right at the first fret. All right, I go ahead and show you how to do at least one of these. I use these little needle files, I guess they call them. I don't know what they call them. Just these small files. You can get them at your hardware stores. Hardware stores, Harbor Freight, any of those places have them. And this one here is got the file teeth on one side. On the other side, it's smooth. And so what I do is just start. I marked off where I need the file at, and it's going to be kind of hard to do because I've got my camera in my way. But what I do is I like to file the slot at the angle of the headstock. And I think I mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. What this is going to do is going to make that string play off the front of your nut, which helps with intonation. What you don't want your string playing off this side of the nut, because if it's lifted here, that's going to throw your intonation off, because everything is measured from here for intonation. So I lay that down in that slot, and I see where I'm at, and I still got to go down some more. So I'm going to pull that back up. Sometimes easier said than done. And we file a little bit more. Remember my pencil mark? That's what I'm looking at right now to see where I'm at. We're getting really close to it. Still need to go down just a tiny bit more, not a whole lot. Again, this is an antler nut that I use. I use antler. Why do I use antler over bone? Because I have it. You can use bone. It don't matter what you use for a nut. You can use plastic. It ain't gonna hurt nothing. I've used all the materials you can think of. I've even made wooden nuts, and they sound just as good as anything else. That's the trouble when you get a hold of guys that built a lot of different things. Yeah, just a tiny bit more. I just want to show you the process of filing a nut here. At least my process. And it's like everything else. You just take your time. Don't be in a hurry. And eventually you'll get there. And I think that's where we're going to stop at right there for that string. And so basically I'm going to do the same thing with all the rest of them. Time I get down to these smaller ones, I use a different tool. But it's basically the same thing. You're just cutting the depth of them slots in the same manner. I do them at a slant. You don't want to cut your nut slot, string slot straight. You want to cut them at an angle, so that you're going down at it, and that way things just work out better. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, it looks like I'm going to have to cut that saddle down some too. Looks like my action's up just a little bit too high. So I may go ahead and do that before I go too much further. What I'll do is I'll cut the other E string slot and then see where my action is starting to tend towards, and then I knew I was going to have to do it because the other one's a little bit, the original one is now not as tall. So I'll take that out to the shop real quick and grind some on that, and then bring that back in and get this action down where it needs to be. It's not real high, but by the time I get the rest of the strings on there, it's going to pull a little bit on that neck. Yeah, it's high enough, and might as well do that now before I go putting all the strings on there and have to loosen them all back up. I think that's what I'll do. Oh yeah, it's not that bad. I think I will take it down just a tiny bit. Alrighty, I'll talk to you guys later on. Bye. Alright, here it is, all finished, all strung up, all dialed in, as close as I'm going to get it today anyway. I'll stay this way for whoever knows when. So again, what I did is I hooked this pickup along with the saddle pickup, and I'm just going to strum an E string, right, E chord right at the moment. Yeah, I have some sound effects on the amp. What I'm doing, I was using my Fishman acoustic amp, and I think it sounds pretty good. go. There it is. This was the Yamaha TransAcoustic. The electronics in it literally burned up in it. The batteries got so hot in it, I'm surprised it didn't melt the cartridge that they were in. They were that hot, and I couldn't even hardly hold them in my hand. I was bouncing them until I got them outside just because they were that hot. I thought they were going to explode. And I've never seen a battery explode, but it's always the first time for everything for me. So I got them outside, let them cool off out there, and threw them away. But anyway, it's fairly quiet. There's hardly any noise coming from the amp, and I'm happy with it. That's all that matters. And it's playing great. I got the action down pretty much where I want it. It could go just a little bit lower, but I'm just going to leave it for now. Maybe 6 or 8 months from now, if and when I change strings again, I'll lower it some more. But until then, I'm not going to touch it. And it's playable. In fact, on the inside label, I marked out TransAcoustic on it, and marked out all the markings for TransAcoustic, because it's no longer a TransAcoustic, it's just an acoustic, a Yamaha acoustic guitar now. I wrote on the label "Born Again" because that's what I feel like it's done. It's been born again into something else. And if you follow the Christian faith, you know what born again means. It means being transferred into something new. All things become new. This guitar has now become something all new again. And I don't know how much I'll play it in church or not, but here at home, I plan on doing some soundtracks with it so I can play my electric guitar to it and all that stuff, and that's my plans. So anyway, there we have it. Next up on my list is those 3 Amigos, the 3 acoustics that I just got. I just made a video on, and probably won't start on those until Monday. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a video for each one of them, and they'll all pretty much follow the same pursuit, but I want to do video all 3 of them just to give it some track records of what I did to all 3, and see how they each work, because each one is going to have its own personality. So, and each one will have its own temperament on how it wants to be fixed. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make 3 videos on the 3 acoustics that I just got from somebody at church, a friend of mine. And so we'll be going through those in detail, what I do to them and all that stuff. So anyway, there you have it. The Yamaha acoustic born again guitar. And it's playing, like I said, it's playing great. I think it's sounding great. I don't know what, I haven't finger picked it yet, but imagine it sounds all right. Let's see what I can do here. Let's just do the typical. Yeah, I think it's gonna be all right. Let's change it down here to reverb and see what it sounds like. catch you all later. Bye now.